Thanks everyone for joining us today in another live webinar. Today we have Ivan from the sales operation team to walk us through and share with us on the account registration. So in the interest of time, we will start shortly. So if there's any question, feel free to put it into the Q&A box. All right, and if there's no other question, I'll pass it over to Ivan to kickstart the session today. Thank you, Ivan.
All right, welcome everyone, and thank you, Junliang, for passing on the floor to me. So as Junliang mentioned, I'm part from the sales operations team, and I'm essentially oversee the registration process and the onboarding of different sellers on the Amazon.com platform. Today, we're going to go through the account registration. This is a useful guide, and we're going to be able to answer any of your questions that you have specifically to registration after I've gone through the material. So let's kickstart with the webinar. So again, as I said, before we begin, this is going to be recorded. So you're going to be able to access this recording in case you want to refer to any material shared. If you have any doubts after the webinar has finished, we're also going to be hosting a Q&A session after I finished the registration webinar for you to ask questions on your specific cases. And again, you can also access pretty much all the information that we're going to be sharing through Seller University, which is a platform available to everyone. Just keep in mind that before we start, the information shared during this webinar is proprietary of Amazon, so we do not want you to share or distribute the information shared during this webinar. So the content that we're going to go through a bit is we're going to speak about the registration process, how you begin, the information that you need in order to successfully register. And then we're going to go through different processes that happen throughout the registration process, such as seller identity verification, or also known as SIV, the in-person verification, the IPV, and the postcard address verification. We're then going to finish on something we call seller performance review, or SPR, and this is triggered on some sellers in some instances, and we're going to let you know the details on how to essentially overcome the SPR if you're triggered that when you're signing up. So starting on an Amazon selling account. So before we start, I think it's important to note that we have two types of selling accounts. We have what we call the individual, and this essentially is only charged once you start selling, which is $99 US per item sold. On top of this, of course, there are some additional selling fees, which depend on case by case, which you can access again, all the disclosure of the fees through the different Seller University or help pages that we have, and you can get a full breakdown of what you will be charged. On the other hand, we have the professional account. This is charged on a monthly basis, and it's $39.99 US. And this is irrespective of the amount of units sold. So essentially, if you sell more than 40 units a month, you will benefit from having the professional account. Additionally, to only being a monetary benefit once you pass the 40 units a month, with the professional account, you also have access to different products within Seller Central, such as Opportunity Explorer. So this is a very big overview of what you should expect during registration. So at the beginning, once you start registering for your account, you will provide the information, and once you've provided all the information, you will go through seller identity verification. And here we will ask you to upload some of the documents which are related to the information you have submitted during the registration process. Once the SIV has passed, our associates in the background are going to review the case, and they're going to invite you guys on a call on a video call with, again, one of our associates. This is what we call in-person verification. And this in-person verification is essentially going to be an associate asking you some questions. And the questions are usually related to the documents that you have submitted and checking the legitimacy of the seller who is registering. In some cases, not in all cases, we have what we call a postcard OTP. And this is a physical postcard that will be sent to the address that you have keyed in during the registration process. And this is used to verify the physical address of some sellers. The physical postcard will be mailed to your address. It can take between 1 to 2 weeks, and if you're in very, very, very remote locations, it can take a bit longer than 2 weeks. But we do have a page in Seller Central where it tells you exactly where the postcard is and the ETA expected to arrive at your address. Once that is done, you can then access Seller Central, and then you can modify any information that you provided or start listing and launching your online store. And then, as said, step number 6, this is also not happening for all the sellers, but you might be triggered what we call seller performance review. And this is if you change any of the crucial information that you have inputted during registration, such as the address, your credit card on file, etc. So you might be triggered SPR. And SPR is very similar to SIV, essentially where our associates are going to be relooking at the information or the new information that the seller has changed in order, again, to check the legitimacy of this information. So let's kick it off with the registration process. So right at the beginning, when you start a registration process, we essentially ask the first couple of questions. And this is to understand a bit the information or the business information that the seller needs to provide. So we ask, for example, what's the business location country? I do want to note that even if you don't have a business, the business location or the individual location is where the seller is registering from. So if I am registering from Singapore, the business location or the country that I would have to select is Singapore. The second question, which might be of interest of many of you, is essentially asking what business type you have as a seller. So here we can have different types, such as private or publicly owned, if you're a charity, and we even accept sellers who do not have a business, and essentially there are individuals. So you can key in here that you are an individual and you still don't have a registered business. Step number 3 is then essentially just looking at if you have keyed in that you have a public, private, or charity. We want to know the name of the business, and this name is very important because it should be the same name that you have provided to any government when you were trying to register the business. Again, if you have indicated that you were an individual, of course, you will not have a business name, but we will ask for your first name, middle name, if any, and your last name. Second step is asking the seller information. And this, of course, might vary from the business information, right? So this is essentially the person who is doing the registration and the person who's going to be managing the account. So here we're going to be asking, again, your first, middle, and last name, the citizenship country, and the country of birth. Now, these details are very important, and we highly suggest to key in word by word and letter by letter, the same as the identity document that you are going to be using or uploading for your identity verification. So please do check well the identity document that you're going to be using to register, and key in word by word how it's stated in the document. We also ask for the residential address. And again, this is going to be really important in case you are triggered the postcard OTP. So please do insert the information which usually you get mailed to, because if you are triggered the postcard OTP, this address is the one that is going to be used. And we're also going to be checking or doing a phone verification. And by this, you're simply going to have to put your phone number. And once you click on either send SMS or receive an electronic call, we're going to hand you over a PIN, right? And this PIN, you're going to have to key in the PIN in the user interface to proceed to the next step. Billing. So we require a credit card to start selling on Amazon, and the reason being is that we essentially charge this $39.99 monthly fee. Now, as you can see from the registration guide highlighted in blue, the subscription fee will be charged on the first month. However, this fee will only be charged again each month if you have any active listings. And as it states, if you do not have an active listing, you will not be charged a subscription fee in that month. So essentially, once you register, if you do not have a listing and you take 6 months to create a listing or start selling, you will only be charged once, which is at the moment of registration. Now, an important thing to take note here is if the credit card billing address is different to the one that you placed beforehand in the previous step, we highly suggest to click on add a new address where you see below the billing address and add and align the address to your billing address. If there are differences, this is one of the reasons why you might be unsuccessful during seller identity verification. So do take note of this and change it if the billing address is different from the address you keyed in the previous step. Store and product information. And here's where we start asking a bit of questions regarding the storefront or the store name that you are going to be using to sell on Amazon. Now, if you do not have a name at this stage, you can input a name, and this store name can be changed once you have logged on to Seller Central and before you start selling. Right. Once you enter the store, on the right-hand side of the store name, you're going to see if the store name is available immediately or if you have to change it to a unique store name. We also ask for some questions in case you already have some products, essentially asking if you have UPC codes, if you're the brand owner, and if you have a registered trademark for the products you want to sell. If you don't have products to sell, no issues. You can put no to the questions as you're slowly building up your listings and growing your products. So seller identity verification. So once you've essentially finished the registration, we're going to ask you to upload a couple of documents. So the first documents that we are going to be asking our sellers is identity documents. So essentially either the passport or the driver's license, right? Please be careful because we do ask all these documents to be scanned in high definition, be in colored form, and also be unobstructed. So if you upload one of these documents and they have and the associate essentially can't see part of the document because there is a finger or there is another paper on top, you might fail the seller identity verification statement that you have in the last 180 days. So this is the user interface that you're going to be seeing. We're going to ask you to essentially upload the front and back in case you use your driver's license, and the proof of address you're going to have to select if you're using a bank account, a credit card statement, and then upload the document. Again, high quality, colored, and unobstructed, and this is really important. We have here some examples of documents and how to upload them. And here I'd like to really reiterate a really important thing. So if you select your passport, we require you to also upload the page of your passport with the signature. In the case of Singapore, we are aware that the signature page is on a different page where your details are stated. So you're going to have to scan and upload both pages. In other countries from Southeast Asia, we normally see the signature on the same page or on the same face where your details are also present. As you can see here, we also have Philippines example, and in the case of Indonesia, it's similar to the Singapore example where the signature is on another page, on the first page of the passport, and you're going to have to upload both faces. So again, if you need to upload any additional documents and you have any different points of contact, do upload them here with the proof of address. Now, another point, the documents must be in one of the following languages, which are Chinese, English, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Portuguese, or Spanish. If you do have documents which are in other languages, we still accept them. However, you are going to have to have a notarized translation of your documents. So if your language that you're uploading the document is not present in this list, before uploading, you're going to have a notarized translation and upload the translation together with the original document. Once we have our associates have essentially analyzed the documents that you have submitted, there might be the cases where you might be failed or rejected. Now, we can this rejection, and we usually state the reasons and what you have to provide in order to pass this rejection. Right, so please make sure to read any emails or any notifications that you receive from Amazon during the SIV process in order to amend the documents that you have uploaded and essentially ultimately pass SIV. Again, if you have failed because of too many resubmissions, you can contact Seller Support via the contact support option in Seller Central, which is usually on the top right or on the bottom left, depending on the device you're using to register. Or you can take note of the email that we share here, where you can state the exact issue that you're facing during SIV, and one of our associates will get back to you in order to progress on the seller identity verification. So for the in-person verification, once you've passed SIV, we also require you to go through an online video interview. This interview, most likely you will be able to do it in your preferred language. Of course, English is the widely used language, so if you can't speak English, that would be an added advantage because we are going to be able to get on a call quite fast. If you require any specific language, then the time can increase a bit, but we always target to get to start a call within 1 to 6 minutes from the time you want to make the call. Now, you're also able to schedule an appointment at a future date if when you're going through IPV, it's not an adequate time or date. And appointments will most likely be available within the next 2 to 7 business days in case you want to schedule it If you want to do it instant, again, as mentioned, it will take around 1 to 6 minutes to start the link to get on a call with one of our associates. So again, typical things of what to prepare during your in-person verification. So take note of the time and an appointment if you have made an appointment. We also require you to have the documents that you have submitted in order to verify that the documents are actually legitimate. So in a lot of the cases, the associates asks the seller to bring up the document. You're going to have to show the document, probably turn it around, showing that it is legitimate and that it is not a fake document. Again, please make sure to be in a quiet room and that the device has a webcam and a microphone enabled. So what happens after IPV? So once you finish the call with the associate, the call of course will end, and then we can take up to 2 business days to see and analyze the questions that you guys have answered. And once that is done, you will receive a message to start accessing Seller Central and start your journey as a seller. So for some of the cases, as mentioned, you might be triggered OTP. And this OTP, the user interface is very similar or essentially the same as the one we're showing here. So we're going to be showing when it's being prepared by Amazon, once it's been shipped, and when it's in transit or being delivered. We also put an estimated delivery time in green above the timeline of events. And below, you're going to see a text input field where you're going to be inserting the OTP code that you're going to be receiving in the mail. Now, if you're not at home or the postcard gets delivered to a wrong address, you will have 3 attempts to essentially re-trigger the postcard OTP. And again, if you have exhausted the 3 attempts and still not able to proceed with the registration process, you can also reach out to one of our SPS team members to get support and explain your situation. So Amazon post seller verification. So once you have accessed Seller Central, you will still need to provide a couple more pieces of information before you can start actually selling on Amazon. So the first one, which I think is of interest to every one of you, is the deposit method. So here we're going to ask for your bank details, and this is very important because it's how Amazon is going to pay you the money of your sales proceeds. So whenever you make your first sale or your ongoing sales, we need a bank account to essentially pay you the money that you have hard earned. So this is the deposit method that we're going to be asking you guys in order to pay those proceeds. We're also going to be asking you to update an emergency contact. And last but not least, it's what we call tax identity information. And this is a US tax regulation. It's just a questionnaire, and essentially the questionnaire just asks if you are a US citizen or if you're not a US citizen. And the reason being is if you are a US citizen, you will have to pay taxes in the US. But if you're not a US citizen, you will be exempt of these taxes. So in the rare occasion that you get triggered what we call SPR, the seller performance review, the situation or the process is going to be very similar to what you went through with SIV. You're going to log on to your Seller Central account and you are going to see that your account has been deactivated. You're going to see a red banner, but not to worry, because right under this banner, you will see a button which states reactivate your account. and you're going to have to follow the steps and submit the information required, which we're going to go through in the next slides on how to reactivate your account. As mentioned here, the common SPRs, the common triggers for SPR are either you have a dormant account, so there's not been a lot of activity during the account, you've either upgrading the plan, or you change the address or bank details from the registration process. And this is again to verify your identity that the changes that you made are again legitimate. So for an SPRs, usually what we ask is a utility bill. And utility bills, again, is to prove the person and address that you have changed or been triggered. And the same instructions as mentioned for SIV, you're going to have to submit them in colored, high quality, and above all, unobstructed. Right, so also make sure that it is issued within the last 90 days. So if you do have any utility which is very old, unfortunately, we will not be able to accept it. We only accept recent ones for last 3 months or 90 days. So we also do accept some utility bills that might not essentially be under your specific name, but you might have them under one of the relationships. So either if it's your landlord, your parent, in order to submit the SPR documents, you will be able to go on what we call performance notifications. Again, just follow the links when you're prompted that your account is deactivated, and you're going to be able to see the step-by-step guide on how to upload the documents. Now, once you have uploaded the documents, again, we're gonna take a couple of days to review the documents and let you know if you have successfully passed the SPR, or if you need to essentially appeal and provide more information. You can see the outcome again through what we call performance notifications. So this is under the top left menu. You're going to open the menu in Seller Central, and under the performance tab, you're going to click the performance tab and go to performance notifications. And this is essentially kind of an inbox for your Seller Central account, where you see all the activity and all the different outcomes of the different actions that you have done. So in this case, if you need to reactivate your account, this is where you're going to see the process and the outcome of your SPR. Once you open the performance notification, you're going to receive kind of a bit more explanation on what went wrong or what went right, and you're going to be able to either appeal or continue selling on Amazon. If you are going to appeal because the outcome was negative or rejected, we are going to let you know how to improve or what documents were missing in your appeal. Again, here are some tips on how to get a successful review. Essentially, just as I mentioned before, just make sure that that the utility bill is within the 90 days. You include all the pages, it's well scanned, and that the name and address on the utility bill match exactly with the details you have entered within Seller Central. In some cases, during the SPR process, we will ask you to do another in-person verification. Again, through the performance notifications tab that I was sharing before, you will get the instructions if you're triggered to do this new in-person verification. And again, you will receive all the links and all the required steps in order to go through it again. So do check your performance notifications if you're gone through the SPR process. So thank you. I think now Junliang is going to take over and share a couple of resources and guides from Stellar University in case you have any more questions or help needed.
Hey, can you all see my PowerPoint slides? Oh, finally. Okay, so I'm back. I just want to share some of the resources that we have from Stellar University. So this is some guide that once you have registered, you can also do a quick scan on the registration guide that we went through earlier on. And there's a perfect jumpstart launch playbook as well for those who have successfully registered. You can go on to look at how you can start your own store in the first 90 days. This is where you can find Stellar University content. All right, and over there, you'll be able to track your progress on the different topics that you want to learn more about. And the resources and the links that we went through, we will be sharing on the video descriptions on YouTube as well. Okay, finally, we are now at the Q&A. So I saw some questions in which I will address it online later as well for those who are watching the replay. But meanwhile, these are some Q&A that FAQ we always got. Now, first one is, what if my driver license does not have an expiry date? What do you need to do? So during that portion, you can enter a date 3 months from the date of application. Right, I know this is quite common, especially if you're in Singapore. I think the Singapore license do not have the expiration date on that. So the next question is, I do not have a credit card. Can I still register for an Amazon selling account? So although, officially we say that you won't be able to register without a credit card, if you do have a debit card, you can still go ahead and try to register. So we do heard from some seller that it does work. So don't worry, if you have debit card, you can go on and give it a try. Right, so the next question is, when will I be billed after creating an account? So when you're creating an account, during that time, you'll be billed immediately upon the creation of the professional account. Now, however, if you think that you don't want to keep paying for the professional selling subscription fee, like what Ivan has mentioned earlier on, so you can actually, you won't get charged again if you are not having any active listing. But if you do really want to downgrade to an individual plan, you can still do so in the option itself on the account setting. After you successfully register and go into Seller Central, you can downgrade your account to individual plan as well. So these are just some common questions like which other country that global selling is available. You can take a good look. For those who want to expand even further, not just .com, you don't have to create multiple accounts. You can have one account and then you can sell in all other different Amazon stores as well. All right, so this question is, do I need to make sure that the address of my bank account statement is the same registered with Amazon? So the address on your bank account must match the address on your registered selling account. So I know I saw a FAQ regarding Q&A regarding this. We'll address it later. And then the next question is whether or not you can change your store name after registration. So yes, you can change your store name. And also there was a question asked in the Q&A whether your store name and your business name does it have to be same. So you don't have to put the same name. Your store name can be different from your business name. So the other Q&A is regarding, can I provide another credit card after opening an account? So you can do that after you created your account. You can go in to change and update another credit card once you have access to your seller account. All right. So this question is regarding during the SIV process, I've submitted a real and valid document, but it never passed. What should I do? Now, first of all, you can confirm it through the performance notification on the document you submitted, whether it matches, and also take note of any emails that were sent to you. So usually in the email, they'll explain the reason for rejection. So do ensure you take a look at the emails. So at any point of time you encounter any system error or you can't submit any materials, there's a link that was shared earlier on during Ivan's presentation as well on the Get Support button. You can click on that and they'll be able to assist you if you are stuck. Let's say if there's a system glitch or some documents you're not aware of that you don't know what is it about. Yep. So the next common question we got is if you're having error with registration and verification, some seller try to create a new account and different emails. So technically you can do that with a new account and different email, but do note that you cannot redo or revise your submission after each step in the registration and verification process. And also you can take a break anytime, and then when you come in back to the same email address, you'll be able to continue, just that you can't go back to the steps. All right. All right, so the rest are pretty straightforward. All right, so if you want to reactivate an account that was created previously, you won't be able to reactivate if it's a closed account. All right, so to reactivate a suspended or deactivated account, you can sign into Seller Central and then you have to provide again the similar documents that you need to do during the registration, and then also make any corrections to your account for any issues that's listed under the performance notification to get your account reactivated. So I think this is probably the last one is if my business license address is different from my actual office address, which one should I fill in? So you fill in an address for which you can provide the utility bills, for your water, electricity, etc. Right, make sure the address you provide allow you to receive the OTP from Amazon. So the letter that's going to send to address, make sure that it's an address that you have access to the mailbox. Let me see if these are important. All right, if not, I will skip it. It's more about doing your appeal. You can read it up as well. Right, I think Ivan mentioned again, the verification usually lasts about 15 to 30 minutes. Right. Okay, now we will go into the questions that some of you has mentioned. Okay, so the first question is, I'm going to read it out because I think some of you watching the recording may not be able to see it on the chat. So the first question is, does the store name needs to be the same as your business name? So the answer is no, it's not required to have the same store name as your business name. It can be a different name. Right, I have a question regarding the bank account statement, which I may need Ivan's help as well. So the question is about my bank account statement, which is an e-statement, does not indicate my address. Should the bank account statement submitted be the hard copy?
So if you are submitting your bank account as an address proof, you will require to have an address on that. You can either ask a lot of these to provide an address, or the bank can issue statements with address. So we highly suggest you get in contact with your bank and get that document with the address.
All right, thank you, Ivan. Let us know if you have follow-up question. So I got another question. This from Hazel is that, do you need to have a US bank account to be able to sell in Amazon US? For example, if I'm located in the Philippines, is it still possible to create Amazon US account and sell to US market? So from my understanding, right, it's not necessary to have a US bank account to sell in Amazon.com. However, if you want to receive any of your sales proceed from Amazon account, right, your account must be able to support the multi-currency. So to your question, yeah, you do not need to have a US bank account. All right, let me see what other questions we have. All right, there's a question regarding from one of our registrant. Payoneer account is it acceptable? So according to Ivan, yes, it is acceptable. You can use the Payoneer account. All right, thank you. So I have another question. How will tax identity information work for non-US citizen?
Can you repeat that question?
Yep. The question is, how will tax identity information work for non-US citizen?
So again, if you want me to get into details, which is a bit interesting, it might be useful to some of you. So if you are a non-US citizen, the tax interview that you are going to conduct or the tax questionnaire that you're going to conduct once you access, it's only to be exempt to not pay US taxes. Now, being a foreign national to the US and not paying taxes there, you're also going to be receiving a US document, which is the W-8 document, essentially stating that you have an activity in the US, but that you're not paying any taxes as you're not a citizen there. This document is useful for some local banks because if you start receiving funds from overseas, some of the banks may ask you, where are these funds coming from? And it goes into the bank's KYC processes. So providing this W-8 document to the bank essentially states, I have an activity outside of the current country. These are the proceeds I'm getting from there. Yet I'm not paying taxes in the US because I am not a US national resident. So again, it's just for you to have the paperwork in place in order to meet your local KYC bank regulations, in case they ask. Okay, so please take note of the different QR codes that you see right now on the screen. We have the different webinars and event. Please access that and register. I believe that some of you had questions regarding different webinars and different content that we're going to be sharing. You can find all the roadmap of events that we are going to be hosting in that QR code. Again, the recordings, in case you wanted to go back to some of the content we mentioned in the webinars. The third one is Sell University. This is a very, very, very vast and comprehensive library on step-by-step guides on how to get started with your Amazon account. And it essentially solves a lot of the questions that a seller might have. And last but not least, we have the Facebook seller community. This is where other fellow sellers are essentially just looking for answers. They post, you can help each other, you can see how past sellers have resolved some of their issues. You can also get tricks and tips from other sellers and ask their opinion on specific topics. So please feel free to join on any of these QR codes. We are going to be looking forward to hosting you and learning from you in our next events. So thank you very much for coming today, and let us know if you have any other questions, suggestions. See you next time. Bye-bye.